Welcome. My name is Kelly Anderson, and this is Fanimated, the animation fan podcast where we get a chance to geek out about our favorite animated media. Brynn Berryhill and I are back to discuss more of Steven Universe. This time we're talking about just Season 5 exclusively, now that it has finished airing. I also want to take a moment to just thank you all so much for listening to the podcast. And we have a very, very special announcement. Fanimated is now on Patreon. You can get some amazing benefits, like voting for what topics we discuss, getting your own Fanimated decal sticker. I'm even making some vlogs discussing other animated media that we have yet to talk about on the podcast. All of your support will go directly back into the podcast to cover technical expenses and to make the show even better. Make sure to check out our Patreon in the link in the description, and we really hope to see you there. Well, Brynn and I had a very long discussion about all things Steven Universe. Be warned that there are a ton of major spoilers ahead, so we highly encourage you to finish watching Season 5 before you continue listening. So let's get started and let's get animated. Yes, we are talking about Steven Universe, Season 5 specifically, because I felt like, well, when we talked about Steven Universe to begin with, the show hadn't, Season 5 hadn't been completed yet, and it was also our first episode that we ever recorded, so I'm thinking, okay, we can do a little better.
Well, and guess what? This is the first episode that you've ever recorded long distance.
Oh, you're right. Man.
Steven Universe is all about firsts.
It's true.
Yeah, when the movie comes out, I'll have to go up to the moon so we can podcast that long distance, and we'll just have to keep upping our game.
Yeah, every time we do a Steven Universe episode, to keep doing something.
Excellent. We'll do it at a con next time. That'd be
cool.
My
goodness, that would be amazing. Oh yes, please. But yeah, I just feel like, and Season 5 too is so incredibly different, I feel, than all the other seasons of Steven Universe. They've spent, 4 seasons building the foundations, and we've gotten a lot of rewards, but Season 5 is really where everything finally clicks into place. And it's it's just this amazing, I'm trying to think of the right word.
So many payoffs.
Payoff, yes. It's a huge payoffs, and they're finally delivering on all the hype, And in my opinion, they definitely do deliver. This isn't how, I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I've had people explain to me that there was kind of a lot of hype and some people didn't feel like it was delivered. And
Steven Universe delivered.
Yeah, Steven Universe delivers. Oh man, it's worth the long ride, the long hiatuses, and all of the craziness to reach.
Agreed. Point. A lot of the character development wrap-ups or character development payoffs happen in Season 5 specifically, and they even have a whole episode about, hey, look how far we've come with the kitten episode.
Yes.
An entire episode to say, before our very eyes, Steven has grown from this child to this young man. It's just so good.
Steven's character has developed. You see Lars develop immensely. Lapis, decides to stand up and fight. Sadie and her band.
I love Sadie and the Killers, or Sadie Killer and the Suspects. I'm sorry, Sadie Killer and the Suspects. Those episodes are some of my favorites, actually. Yes. So I love those episodes.
I skipped some of the episodes rewatching Season 5, and I have to say the Sadie and the band one was one I skipped, but I just wanted to get to the stuff I really, really, really love. So if you want to pull up a list of episodes, I was thinking we could just go through episode by episode.
I already have a list up, actually.
Well, that's perfect.
So I started watching the first episode, which is Stuck Together Part 1, and I started watching it and I went, oh my gosh, Steven still doesn't know his mom is Pink. So much happens in Season 5.
Yes.
At the first episode, I'm like, oh my gosh, You're right. He doesn't know Jack. Holy guacamole. It's so much. It's even before Lars's transformation. It's so far away from where we have come.
Yes.
Um,
And it moves,
yeah.
like, the pace in the season moves exponentially. Like, it just hits, it keeps hitting all those points, hitting all of those big payoffs, and it just bulldozes like a snowball through the whole season. I mean, you are introduced to White Diamond, and then they,
Right.
resolve that conflict within just a few episodes. Like, it's just like boom, 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 boom.
Well, in Mario Kart where you have those speed up ramps,
Yes.
that kind of like, phew, that's what it feels like
yes.
in a lot of these episodes.
I actually started rewatching. I went back a few episodes into season 4 to just kind of do the build up, I guess, to season 5, because end of season 4, beginning of season 5 just like meld together. So I love that Lars episode where he is going to go to the party and he bakes the cake. And it's just like, it really brings Lars down to the lowest possible point so that he can be brought back up. But we'll talk about that in a second.
And I think it's underlined and stuck together when he shows that he wants to do something, but he's just so cowardly. Everyone is depending on him and he just bolts.
Yes, he wants to be able to help Sadie and like protect him, but he's so afraid. He has so much fear in him. And again, they just keep knocking him down and down further and further before his transformation. And it just like breaks your heart that he can't do it. He can't stand up for himself until the end. Oh. And just when Steven sacrifices himself too, it's so hard to watch because you're just like, Steven, don't. And I feel that he feels so responsible for all the things his mother has done. It's just like builds on him and builds on him throughout all of these seasons. And he's just feeling that weight and that pressure. And he's just like, fine, just do what you want to me. Like, I'll take the repercussions, and he shouldn't have to, and it just hurts.
And the way that he did it, and we get to that when Connie kind of checks him and she's like, you left without me, and it really hurt to watch you go, and you shouldn't have gone without me, or you shouldn't have gone without us, and like, why did you do that? And kind of like it points out a really interesting point of like the martyr, like the idea of a martyr, and how even like, the martyr is always seen as this great person who is sacrificed everything just so that everything can get back to normal, and he's doing this so that everything goes away. And she points out, like, buddy, not everything went away. This was a really traumatic experience for us at home. So I thought that was an interesting point to point out, and it goes along with the theme of Steven Universe, that you're not on your own.
Yes. Oh,
Even if you're going into battle, even if you're going to save the world and you're planning on not coming back, the point is to have the people who love you around you while you do it, and the people who are willing to go with you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so with Stuck Together, the trial, and Off Colors, Lars's head, the whole first part of the season, you get so many good Steven Lars moments, and I love them together. I was listening to the Steven Universe podcast, and it's just I love listening to it and hearing what they have to say. But they were talking about how Lars and Steven really are complete opposites, and like Lars is really a foil to Steven, because Steven's whole thing is he wants to help everybody, and Lars won't let anyone help him.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, I never thought of it that way, but it's true. That's all Steven ever does in the whole entire series, is just wants to help everyone. And Lars, like, he can't let people help him.
Well, and throughout the series, you've seen Steven just trying so hard to help Lars, to the point of like accidentally taking over his body and trying to make the right decisions, which actually like messed it up even worse. Like
Yeah.
he's tried well, if you won't let me help you, I'll become you and then you'll let me help you.
Right. Oh my goodness. Oh, Steven.
No, I was going to move on to the trial.
Yeah, me too. What do you have to say?
Oh man, it was the first time that the season kind of presented itself as almost a murder mystery kind of season. Because each season kind of a little bit of a genre, and this one's genre was a little bit of like a mystery genre, because finally we're coming down to the point where we're finding out all of the mystery and all of the answers to these things.
Mm-hmm.
I love the little gem whose poor thing has been assigned to Steven to save him, and Steven's like, no, I did it. Don't say that. And then by a stroke of luck and genius, it actually like points out that it could have been one of the diamonds who shattered Pink, which it was.
Yes,
but
in a roundabout way.
Right, in a roundabout way, they were really on to something. But it just took that step farther, and I didn't say that. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry.
She was on such a roll.
I love that so much.
When I first watched the trial, I was just floored. I was like, oh my goodness. Yellow Diamond killed Pink Diamond. Like, that was my initial thought.
Me too.
Because you're like, oh, it's one of the diamonds. Well, it can't be blue. She cares too much. But yellow.
Right. And the way that Yellow tried to like sweep it under the rug, totally incriminating.
Yes. And the fact that Yellow Diamond has been the big bad since the beginning. Mm-hmm. Like, she was introduced that way. Like I remember when the new extended theme song came out, and they show that was the first glimpse of Yellow Diamond, and it's that slow turn, and you just like see her silhouette, and you're like, it's Yellow Diamond. It's like all of those. Yellow Diamond is supposed to, cause fear.
Right.
I mean, oh my gosh, I just can't even with Rebecca Sugar. Like, come on, she knew from the beginning. And just like all of these little like hints and things that are in this show. I can't. It's too good.
Going back and watching the show and looking for Pearl putting her hands over her mouth.
Yes.
So many times.
Can't say anything.
Say anything.
Okay, we should go back to the list.
All right.
Off colors.
Off colors.
One of the best episodes in the season. Lars finally like sacrificing himself and caring. And like not being like, okay, so Steven is like, Lars, it's okay to be afraid, and Lars like embraces it. It's like, okay, well, this whole show is just I can't even talk. I'm so excited. This whole show is about embracing who you are, and for Steven to be like, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to feel what you're feeling right now. And Lars embraces it. He embraces that he's scared. And he's like, I am tired of like letting that define me. Like I am choosing to redefine myself. I love it. I love it. Do you have a favorite off-color gem?
So funny that, so Steven Universe is all about diversity of relationships. And when I saw the poly gem, the gem that's got like, what is it, 7, but if the right gem comes along, there might be more. I have a lot of poly friends, and seeing that, and I've actually been poly as well, and seeing that representation of polyamory was beautiful. And I haven't seen polyamory like mentioned or shown or represented in many shows, and so to see that in such a positive way was really good. And I thought it was fascinating that the gem was slower speaking, because polyamory is all about connection and relationship and like communication, and so communicating between all of the parts of the gems, it would make sense that their replies would be slower.
Right, yeah.
I thought that was fascinating. But Paparacha, oh babe, oh my sweet summer child, Paparacha.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing about Paparacha is sometimes she introduces something that you didn't notice,
Yes.
even if because she tells the future after it's already happened, so she tells the past. But like there was one moment on Lars of the Stars where Lars is like, oh, I think it's Lars of the Stars. It's like when he's on his spaceship and he's like, I don't know what's wrong. And Pepper just says, I predict Lars will be pressing the wrong button. And they're all like, oh, okay.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was going to say that too. Pat Pratchett is my hands down favorite off color. She's just so cute. And at first I thought, oh no, this could get annoying. But no, you're right. I was going to say the exact same thing you did. Like, I love the ways that they use her deficiency to be something so powerful.
Again, like, even if there is a deficiency or something that's wrong, like, I have ADHD, and my ADHD messes with my life a lot. There are a lot of really annoying things that come from my ADHD, but man, when it goes right, it goes right. Like, there are beautiful things that can happen even through something that other people might see as something that's wrong or something that is a malfunction or a disability. There's still beautiful things that can come from that. And I love how that's shown, and not like beat over the head, because it doesn't happen very often, but it still happens. And that's the point.
Right.
The crack at the end of Lars's head. Fantastic and horrifying.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It just it impacts you. And again, on the Steven Universe podcast, they had discussed whether or not to end it with Lars being dead. And then the next episode, he would come back to life, but they were like, it's too sad. We have to bring him back to life in this episode. Because of course, I mean, that's not what happened, but like, of course, that's when Cartoon Network would decide, oh, hey, we're going to wait 8 months to bring the next episode.
Right. Even they recognize that they would have been soulless monsters to do that.
Yes. Oh, man. And man, like, I love that. That's another huge payoff thing, because Lars was my least favorite character in the whole show until this point. Like, truly, honestly, up until this point, I did not like Lars, because he's annoying. And, I might have liked him a little bit when he was baking his cake. I was like, oh, he's a soft side. But it's like, I was just, because you're just so frustrated with him. And, I felt that same frustration with Steven at the beginning, because, they just they have to grow. And so, of course, silly me, of course, they're going to make Lars super awesome. And like, his character growth is huge. Like, he is one of the biggest characters on the show. And now he's one of my favorite characters, because, you get that full story arc of his character development is absolutely beautiful. And I was so frustrated with him up until that point, but that's because I didn't have the full story yet. It's just, well done. Well done.
I would agree with you that it was frustrating. It's because he was given so many chances to grow. Mm-hmm. He was given chance after chance after chance after chance to grow, to redeem himself, to have that growth moment, or any growth moment, anyone at all. And he just kept passing them by, which is why I was frustrated with him.
Right. And they were digging him deeper and deeper and deeper into the hole so that he could rise this far, Yeah. Like, he needed to get to absolute bottom for him to make the choices that he did. And it's beautiful. I can't.
Right. And I was listening to the Steven Universe podcast, and somebody asked, will Lars die? And they said that he will have an elongated life. Like, he'll live longer. Mm-hmm. But eventually he will age and die.
Yes. But yeah, they were talking about how it might be kind of sad because some of his friends might die before he does,
You mean all of them, probably?
Well, I wonder if Steven has a prolonged life or not.
I saw a comic of Stevani sitting with Garnet, and they were talking a little bit, and then this isn't official or anything, but then Garnet was like, how long has it been? It's like 230 years or something like that, and Garnet says, you're gonna have to let her go at some point. And I just like,
oh no,
right,
that's
that face.
Oh no,
Rude.
No, Connie, stop.
It's a question.
And also, we're just assuming that you guys know what these episodes are. Just read the description of them or something, because I'm not going to like explain every single plot point. And I think most people that listen to this podcast have seen Steven Universe, I would assume.
The next one is Dewey wins, at which point I immediately tune out because I hate Dewey.
I know. And who does?
That he is the epitome of white male privilege in politics, except he's not malicious like many white males in
He's
politics.
just very passive. Like, he just is like, I'm not going to fix anything. I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to sit here and be in power. Ha ha ha.
Right.
But really why I like this episode is not because I don't care about Dewey either. I just care about Connie and Steven, because when Steven finally gets back, Connie is like upset with him, and I feel that. I love how this show isn't just like, it's great, he's back. It's like, no, this is a relationship conflict, because the whole show is about relationships. And yeah, Connie feels like left out of it, because they're in it together. They're jam buds.
I don't blame Connie for being frustrated and mad. Like, and it took Steven some time to figure out what he did wrong.
Yeah.
But the next one, Gymcation.
I love Gymcation.
Because it's so relatable.
Yes, everyone is trying. Well, it's just like, we've all been there. We've all been staring at our phones for 5 years, just waiting for an answer.
Right.
And just kept texting back. All of his texts to Connie are hilarious. Like, his little tennis joke, I don't even know. But then everyone's trying to make him feel better, and I love how everyone tries different ways to make him feel better, and it just doesn't work.
Well, and then when they find out it's a girl problem, Greg's like, oh, human, got this.
Yeah, I got this. Move aside. Oh, goodness.
Right.
Okay, Raising the Barn. Okay, wow. I love Lapis. I think everybody does. But it's just like, she cannot go back into her situation. She just can't. She physically cannot put herself in these situations, and it physically, like, is so afraid of the diamonds.
Lapis has a lot of markers of PTSD.
Yes.
And so looking at it from the point of somebody who has PTSD, who was caged or trapped by the diamonds, if you look at it from that perspective, then it makes a lot of sense. I feel sad for Lapis, because she's also a character that hasn't healed a ton. She's made movements forward, but when it comes to big things like this, you can see that she's still healing, and that she still has stuff to go through, which is very common for somebody who has PTSD or has been through something so traumatic as she has.
Absolutely.
So I feel like that's grounded in a lot of ways, but it's also like my heart goes out to her, because I'm like, Lapis, but wait.
I know. And it's another example of they're pushing her to the extremes, until finally at the end she can join them. And I think, her character still has a lot of healing to do.
Right.
Even after this season.
But then you see in a few episodes later, when she's on the moon, you see that, yes, I'm skipping ahead a little. When she's on the moon, you see that she has the self-awareness to identify that she's ruining her home herself by moving and by leaving Peridot behind and everything like that. It's like when something big happens, she puts a shell around herself and can only see what is good for her and what she sees as good and what she believes is the right thing to do. And then when she actually gains that distance, she's able to open it up a little bit to see that, like, I left Peridot behind. I'm ruining this myself, which is a big sign of healing as well, I think, being able to identify that. But definitely. Yeah, poor Lapis.
We love her.
We love Lapis so much.
We also love Peridot, and we want her to feel better. Like, and back to the kindergarten when they try but fail.
Oh, the little flower of the kindergarten that ends up being a monster. It's like,
yes.
whoa.
And I love at the end when they are on the train and see all the sunflowers, and it's like, okay, you might not be able to plant flowers in that specific space, but literally pick anywhere else on Earth and you can plant a garden. Like,
it's the beautiful version of there are many fish in the sea.
Yeah, yes. And or just with anything, really. It's like, you know, one thing might not work in that very specific way. Like, you might have an expectation that's very specific, and it's like, you know, that might not happen, but like, broaden your perspective, basically, is what it's saying. Like, don't be so focused on this one bad thing. Look at all of this beauty around you and all these possibilities around you. I love it. I'm gonna cry. Steven Universe, stop.
And then we come to Sadie Killer and the Suspects.
All right, I'm gonna let you take Sadie Killer because I am like, okay, it's cool, but what are your thoughts?
Okay, so Sadie Killer and the Suspects is so good. Like, so Sadie has, and I think a lot of, it speaks to a lot of people who have worked so hard that they like have 3 different jobs and they're finding burnout and they can't express themselves and they can't do anything for themselves. And then Sadie finds freedom, the freedom to just quit. And it's not explicitly said, but I'm guessing that her mom supports her in that, and support, like, lets her live at home, helps her figure out like what's the next step and different things like that. But just quits her job and finds that freedom because this is something that she needs. She needs people, she needs family, she needs to move on and move forward in her life. And this is the first real, I think that Sadie has developed in past ones when she's been with the quote unquote cool kids, her peers, before, but this is the real big first Sadie like leap forward, because not only is she hanging out with the quote unquote cool kids, I'm just going to call them the guys, the teens, not only is she hanging out with her peers, she also embraced her creativity and let herself go in front of her peers, and let herself express what was inside, and she found something beautiful and good. And I just love that so much, that she became the lead singer and the inspiration for this band, and this beautiful thing popped up out of nowhere, and she had the courage to take it, because she talks about in this episode how it's familiar. The drudgery of the big donut is familiar, or the donut shop, whatever it is. It's familiar and it's awful, but it's familiar, and it's this this comfort in knowing that what is next, even if it's bad. And she has the strength and courage to let it go. And it's just so beautiful. And their music is so wonderful. And I love those songs so much.
I do agree. I agree wholeheartedly with all of your sentiments. Yes.
I'm just a little bit more fangirly about it, perhaps.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, skip to Kevin party. I want to get back to Connie and Steven, you know.
I do too, but I hate Kevin with a passion. I hate this episode.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love this episode.
Okay, so now this is me passing the mic to you in Iowa. So you take over this episode.
Okay, Kevin party. Yes, no one likes Kevin. But why I like him? Like he's just such a good, like, jerk character. I don't know. And in this episode especially, you kind of you get just a hint of a backstory of him, or like trying to understand him a little bit, and it's like, aw, he's just this little kid who had his heart broken, you know. Like, I love this episode too because Connie and Steven finally talk, and it's just another example of, like, you know, Steven's like waiting for her to text him, but she's explaining how she couldn't, and she wanted to talk in person, and all of these things. It's like, you can't just assume that they don't want to talk to you, you know. Like, she did want to talk to him, but in her own way, in a different way. And so I just really like that. And I love how Steven wants to react to the situation by just like immediately like opening up about all of his feelings, and Kevin is like, no, you have to be cool and aloof and whatever. It's just hilarious. I absolutely love it.
Steven did the right thing in giving Connie her space. Like once he realized the texting was not working, he gave her space,
Mm-hmm.
and waited for her to reach out. So like I'm very proud of Steven for not for assuming that she didn't want to talk to him until she made a move. Like still remaining open, but not insisting on talking to her when she wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And like at that point when she hasn't responded, I actually don't blame him for trying to take Kevin's advice at least once, because what else am I supposed to do? Nothing has worked. I'm here at this party. She hasn't come towards me. She's still not talking to me. I don't know what else to try. So I don't blame him. I blame Kevin wholeheartedly. I do not like Kevin, but I can I recognize that Connie actually like didn't send the text that she wasn't ready, or she didn't send the text that she was ready.
Yeah.
And Steven did the right thing in waiting until he got something from Connie, until the party happened, and then the party happened. And
the party happened. It's just better to be yourself and go and talk and be open. Communication.
Right. Lars of the Stars.
Lars of the Stars. Man, I love Lars. Gosh. And all of the off colors. Like, he's such a good leader. Come on. But yeah, Lars of the Stars. And we talked about Jungle Moon a bit in our first Steven Universe conversation.
And it's still one of my favorites.
Episode 13, Your Mother and Mine.
The misunderstanding as Garnet goes to each off color and gives them a compliment and raves about how she loves them, and they think that she's just making fun of them.
I know, it's so sad.
Oh,
the poor off colors, their whole lives, they've never received a compliment.
Oh my gosh. And just the enthusiasm that Garnet of all the gems would have for all of these gems, like I definitely get that, and just their confusion for that. And we get a recap of what we know of Rose Quartz.
Yes, from the Crystal Gems perspective.
From the Crystal Gems perspective. And I think that was very clever of them, because I'm like, because everything's going to hit the fan in about 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And so we need a recap of what we're supposed to know at this point, so that we can have it shattered.
Yep. And then it all falls apart, literally.
Yep.
Episode 14, The Big Show, is another one I skipped because, sorry, Sadie. And
I know. I did not skip that one because, again, the music and like, especially being, I don't know, her finding her confidence in being a show kid, like a performer, and her finding her confidence in being a performer and how that relates to her family and everything. I thought it was so sweet, and how supportive Steven's dad is, and his like, well, that's really cool that your mom likes all of this stuff, because my parents wanted nothing to do with it. So like, and not shoving it down her throat that you should be grateful for this, but just saying like, I'm really happy for you that your mom's supportive of this, because I didn't get that when I was a kid, you know? Oh,
yeah.
God, I love these episodes.
Greg is amazing. Like, he is literally one of my favorite characters. Everything he does is phenomenal. The end.
And then the next one's pool hopping, which is Garnet's existential crisis.
Well, one of her existential crises in this season.
That's fair. But this is her first one where this is the little framed Steven has grown episode that you pin on the wall and just look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it so much. I love that it's just the acknowledgement that Steven has grown.
And Steven really shows that he's grown and how much he's grown, because Garnet's freaking out about like, what about the ifs? And Steven just cuts right to the point and says, well, why don't we put all of that aside and make happen what we want to happen? Like, let's do something about it instead of worrying about what could happen. And it was just so beautiful. And our little mini recap episode, Letters to Lars, where it turns out at the end of the episode that Steven has been in Lars's head reading it to him the entire time.
That can't be comfortable.
Beautiful. I think that's beautiful.
Oh, I love it. And then episode 17, Can't Go Back, the beginning of the craziness. Okay, well, A, Lapis again. B, the line. Okay, I love the song, the Distant Shore song.
And this is when Steven finds
Lapis on
the moon, right?
Yes, because she just has fear of missing out. Well, but she wants to know what's going on. She just can't stand, not knowing what's going on Earth. The line I love the most is Lapis is talking to Steven like, oh my goodness, everything is awful. The diamonds could come, everything could fall apart. And she says, like, what if, Steven's like, you can come back to Earth, just come be with us. We can figure it out together. And she's like, well, what if something bad happens? And he says, well, what if something good happens? Like, I've been there. I've been in those thought spirals of everything is bad. It's like all these bad things are going to happen. Like, nothing good will come of these things. And then it's like, you don't know that, something good could happen. And it's just so like blunt and true. I love that line. And then Lapis near the end of the episode says like, I was so sure the diamonds were going to destroy my new home that I did it myself. And again, she's in that cycle. She's in that, she's stuck in her past and what she's endured before. And it's really relatable.
And then a single pale freaking rose.
Oh, probably one of the best episodes in the whole thing. I mean, this is truly where they finally get to say, Rose is pink diamond. Pink diamond is Rose. Spoilers, people. Spoilers.
In the most beautiful way possible, with the pearlception that happened. Pearl loses her phone and her pearl, and her subconscious starts texting Steven, figures out what her subconscious is trying to do, and tells Steven to go into her mind and her subconscious and find out what happens.
Yes.
And you peel back the layers, almost literally, like you go through the layers and dive into each layer, and it's so beautiful.
It is. It's like the perfect product of all of these years of building, and it just like it resonates so well. You get it from her perspective, from Pearl's perspective. Mm-hmm. It's just a beautiful way to do it. It's so good. And I just the fact, I mean, there are so many clues in the whole series. Rose is pink, that Steven is pink, diamond, like I can't. Oh, it's just too good. And what a wonderful, I mean, just the whole plot of this entire show is incredible. But I still am floored by it. I'm still just like, yeah, this is it. He is pink diamond. What?
How do you feel about how Pink gave her last command to Pearl? The last command being, you can't tell anybody about this. How do you feel about that?
From my perspective of knowing, all the things that happen and that Steven is there, it's just, I mean, it's unfair to Pearl, but I understand where Pink is coming from because she is so ready to become someone else. She is so ready to start over. She start from scratch. She just wants to leave it all behind. And I understand that. moving on, that the news of that in episode 19 splits Garnet apart, and then Now We're Only Falling Apart is basically the exact opposite of whenever the episode that Garnet goes to the Off Colors and tells the story. So we get the same story except from the truth from Pearl's perspective of how Rose became Rose and fought herself in a war.
Yeah.
So crazy.
I think it's a very Pink thing to do. Pink has been treated like a child her entire life, and so she creates this convoluted way of escaping by make-believe. She was playing make-believe as Rose Quartz.
I would argue that, yeah, kind of, but also like she kind of finally felt free to be herself, whereas when she was Pink and being Pink and with the other diamonds, she didn't feel like she could be herself.
I wonder if there was another way. Like, because Yellow and Blue didn't listen to her, was there any other way that they could do it?
Other than her becoming Rose?
Yeah.
I think there could have been possibilities because also this was era 1, so Blue and Yellow and White weren't quite as crazy as they are now. But I don't think Pink, from her experiences and her life thus far, I do not believe that Pink felt she had any power or control in her situation. So even if there was a way to change their minds and let the Earth survive, she did not see it, and she was incapable of seeing it because she has been conditioned to behave in a certain way.
You were saying that Pink didn't believe that there was any other choice. What do you think would have been the other choices if somebody hadn't been conditioned to believe certain things or hadn't had the repressive life that Pink had?
If she had felt like she had any voice at all, like, I think that it could have possibly been something. I mean, Steven is able to finally convince them. Like, I think Pink could have too, but I just don't think she felt she had the power to.
I feel like she tried, though. Like, in Now We're Only Falling Apart, Pearl said that Pink went to them and tried to say, hey, they're organics. Hey, we're killing them. Hey, we should stop. And they didn't listen to her.
And part of it too could definitely be like, also, not only does Pink not, she tries, but the other diamonds are also like, this is the way it's always been. I mean, they're just so set in their ways. And I don't know, it's hard because the same is true thousands of years later with Steven, even more so, that they're set in their ways, and yet Steven is the one that's able to bring them back. So what is it about Steven and not Pink that he's able to achieve that?
I would say it's his experience, it's his growth. Because in a few episodes when he's talking about familiar, how his mom's whole life seems so familiar, her chambers seem familiar. He says in the song, it's someone I used to be. And his demeanor and how he used to be in like season 1 was very similar to probably what Pink Diamond's mindset was. But over the whole of Steven Universe, he's had that chance to grow. That thing that Pink and Rose were so interested in, that growth, that being able to organically become something else, Steven has done. And his character development and his relationship with the gems and having a supportive family and a loving family gave him that ability to grow up instead of being oppressed and treated as a child his whole life. if Pink had had those opportunities, I think that she might have been able to handle it like Steven did.
Yeah.
But Steven was able to continue the growth that Pink never had.
Yes, and Rose was always obsessed with that growth and that change that humans can create.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I would add to that as well, just the fact that Steven doesn't go in it alone, and Pink, like, she had Pearl, but it was different, and I don't, like, what if Pink had told everyone that, like, the crystal gems, that she was not just Rose, like, what if they had been in it together in that way, or I don't know, been able to, have allies in that way. I don't know.
I that's one thing that I'm like, I almost agree with her in coming to them as Rose, because I don't know if she would have been able to get their trust as Pink. I think
No, but
after
the trust has been earned.
Yeah, same. I think after the war, or even like towards like the ending of the war, of like when she's gained that trust and everything, she probably could have told the inside group of the crystal gems, but any gems who might join the crystal gems wouldn't have trusted her. And so strategically, if she wanted to keep gaining gems to her side, she couldn't have come out as Pink Diamond. After the war, there was no reason for her to not tell them for thousands upon thousands of years.
Well, that just goes back to, she has redefined herself, and she wanted to be someone new. Yeah, like Greg is like, well, Rose met me as, Mr. Universe, not Greg DeMeo. And so I don't care who she was before. Like, I met the Rose, not Pink Diamond. Like, Pink wanted to redefine herself. Let's just bunch episodes 20 through 24 together, all of the stuff leading up to the wedding.
I would say the one thing that I absolutely want to point out is Bismuth's reemergence.
Yes.
And Steven going to Bismuth and saying, hey, and Bismuth saying, they're not going to accept me. They're not going to want me there. And those are big questions around a wedding as well. If there's somebody who has betrayed you, wondering, or if there's somebody who I've betrayed, wondering if they're going to want me at their wedding is a big thing. Like, that's a big thing. And the fact that they welcomed her back with open arms was so big.
Oh my goodness.
I love that so much.
So good. It's like they all wanted Bismuth back, but they all felt they couldn't do it. And then Steven brings him back.
Because he's Steven.
Yeah, I really love, there are several points in these episodes. One when Bismuth comes back and she's like, I, tried to hurt their leader. And Steven's like, what? I'm not the leader, and he's like, well, why are the crystal gems still here? Like, the war is over. What's making them think to the future? It's you, like, Steven is the future, and that Steven, it's very solidified that Steven is the reason that they are all together. And I love that. It's just another like moment of Steven, having grown. And then in Reunited, when they're fighting Blue Diamond, they all get knocked back, and Amethyst and Pearl are both just like, Steven, what do we do? Like, Steve, that was such a wonderful moment to me, because Steven is like, they're asking Steven what to do. Like, just it's such a good moment, and such a turnaround from the beginning of the series where, Steven can't make these decisions. Steven's so immature. Like, he's just looking up to these really cool, awesome crystal gems. And then now he's the leader, and he, has all this responsibility. Oh my goodness, I can't. It's too wonderful.
And then the wedding. my gosh. I was asking some of my LGBTQA plus friends, like, what was most impactful for you in season 5? One of the things that they said is the wedding.
Yes.
Because Ruby and Sapphire in other countries had been voiced, and they had changed the script so that they were just close friends.
Yes.
Like they did in Sailor Moon with the two cousins, quotation marks. The Sailor Scouts who were lesbians, but they said that they were cousins in the English version. Other places had been kind of washing, or, straight washing Ruby and Sapphire, and this episode made it so that they absolutely could not do that and show the entire there is no question, they are not just good friends, they are in love, they are love, and
they are love, they're made of love.
They are made of love, and the romantic kind of love, so like deal with it. And then I also heard the flipping of the gender norms, because usually Ruby is the masculine and Sapphire is the feminine, and Sapphire's the one who had the suit and Ruby's the one who had the beautiful white dress.
Yes. And I love listening to the Steven Universe podcast and hearing Rebecca and Ian talk about Ruby and Sapphire, because they're them. It's Ian is Sapphire and Rebecca is Ruby. And I love that. And I love hearing them talk about how much they fought for this episode, and it's just another big like reward moment of they in real life were fighting this fight to make this happen on screen, and it did, and it's beautiful, and it just ended up being one of the best episodes.
And the song, it's so musical theater, and I just love it so much. And Reunited and Legs from Here to Homeworld really felt like one of those warp pad times when they were like, kaboom! Oh, everything happened. Oh my goodness. All at once.
Yep. We're just going to dump a whole lot of plot on you. I know you're used to having like 1 teaspoon of plot per episode. We're going to give you like a pound at a time. Okay. Is that okay?
We're going to switch the villain of the whole season. We're at the 2 big baddies. We're going to flip it and make them like super okay, and then introduce this other completely big baddie that just suddenly appears in our plot. All of a sudden. And now
she's been there in the background, like a big shadow, and then all of a sudden you meet her and you're like, oh snap, this isn't like any other person, like no other evil that he's, and not evil per se, but like no other big bad that he's fought before.
Well, if Steven is about love and accepting yourself, she really is the yang to his yin, because she is absolutely, and that's not even a good analogy for it, because yin and yang is about balance. She just whitewashes everything. Literally whitewashes.
Like, I am perfection, everyone else must be like me.
And the fact that she's repressing herself to become perfection is just huge.
So episodes 25 through 32, mostly they're on Homeworld, and you get introduced to White Diamond episode 25, and then that whole resolution happens by the end of the season. It just happens so fast.
Here starts in Familiar, and when they come to Homeworld, here starts the dead naming. And for our listeners who haven't, or maybe not heard that, for people who are trans, the name that they were born with and the gender that they were assigned at birth, like let's say that somebody's name is Michael and they are actually a woman and they transition to being a woman, their name is now Michelle. Dead naming is when people continue to call them Michael and continue to label them as a he, him instead of a she, her. And that happens over and over again with Steven. They keep calling him by Pink. They keep calling him a she. They keep calling him Pink Diamond, stop that. Or they keep referring to him as Pink Diamond or she, her, when that is not who Steven is. And that is so apparent in the rest of the series from here to the end,
Mm-hmm.
when finally at the very end, I remember Blue calls him a he, sometime either in Together Alone or Escapism. Blue, or I think it's Together Alone, Blue finally calls him by Steven. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the first time that Blue has acknowledged that Steven is Steven. And that is huge, especially for somebody who's trans or has chosen a different name, even if they're not trans, when they choose a different name to go by. But specifically for that, it's just over and over and over again,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. 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 This show. I can't. It's just too good, guys. Familiar is one of my favorite songs in this season, for sure. It's just, I don't know, it's just so calming, and it's like, and he realizes too, it's another one of those moments, like, you know, I have this experience, like, let me use it.
Because I had a loving family and a supportive family, I am more equipped.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. And that just gets us into like, just how messed up their family is, because the diamonds.
Right?
Oh man.
Right?
Yes. Rewatching it and, you know, seeing Stefani getting thrown into the tower, and just like this happened to Pink over and over and over again, just trying to escape this like abusive cycle is, I mean, it just hurts. Like I feel it in my bones.
And it abuse is a really good word for it, because that's super accurate. Pink says something that she feels and they throw her in the dungeon. Pink tries to do something else and they throw her in the dungeon. And like, for how long this time? And it's really scary thinking about how long they threw Pink in there, and they still are convinced that Steven is Pink. So food, water, what's that? Like, really lucky that Blue came.
Yeah.
I thought Escapism was a strange second to last episode.
I would agree. I was like, we didn't, what?
Like, to be fair, Change Your Mind was like 29, 30, 31, 32. So Change Your Mind was 4 episodes together. Yeah. But escapism was it was escapism. It was escape from the current plot to bring you into this other subplot with the watermelon colony that Steven has accidentally created, that have divided into the peaceful watermelon colony and the aggressive watermelon colony.
As kind of a metaphor for the Earth gems and the Homeworld gems. I know, it definitely feels out of place. Like it just suddenly you're on the watermelon island and you're like, excuse me, can we go back to Homeworld where things are actually happening? Thank you.
It feels a little bit like escapism is too right of a title for this episode. But it's important that he gets to Earth to talk to Greg and see the other crystal gems, bismuth and peridot. Right. It's important. They just took a while to get there.
Yeah, so many other things could have happened. It's just like, could we not have had, I mean, I know Lars and the Off-Colors were like on the other side of the universe, but could they not have like stopped by and helped? I don't know, just something, anything.
I would have appreciated a check-in with the Off-Colors. I would have appreciated that personally.
Because everyone else is finally in space, and we don't even go back to the characters who have been in space for too long.
Right, we got to them at the end of Change Your Mind, like the very end.
Kind of
and
like
I was like, oh, hey guys.
Yeah, it almost felt like oh, we have to fit everyone into this episode at the end. Surprise, they're here. Like that could have been its whole own episode, like Lars getting back. Like that would have been cool.
It felt rushed in that way. I think it wouldn't have felt rushed if escapism had something to do with Lars.
Yeah.
And the Off-Colors. If Lars and the Off-Colors had been involved in escapism, I think that would have been much less rushed.
It would have felt like they were part of this chunk at the end.
Change Your Mind, especially the end of Change Your Mind, the last like 15 minutes, felt wrap up, not in the way of let's wrap this up, but like, let me wrap you in my arms and let's just sink into the ending of this era together in this nice bubbly tub with this fountain and be chill and warm and fuzzy together.
I would agree. It's such a good closing statement to this chapter of Steven's story. And just how, you finally get that firm, definitive answer of, Rose is gone. Steven is Steven. And his magical self and his human self coming together again. And, this whole season, this whole series, you're getting that end credit song, Love Like You. And then you finally like see it on screen. That's what that song is, like loving yourself, and White having to, learn to love herself, even with her impurities, as she calls them.
That last scene with White and Steven and taking Steven apart, that especially felt like a big, for people who are trans or people who feel off color or offbeat, having that person who says, no, this isn't who you are. I know who you are. You are this image that I have of you in my head. That is who you are. Or this person that you used to be is who you are, and refusing and denying that they have changed or that they were never that person that they imagined that they were. And I think that there's something beautiful in the conclusion, like you said, that she pulled Steven apart, past self and present self, or what she thought was the past was himself and who he is, and they turned out to be the same person, and she turned out to be wrong the entire time. And it was this, there is no room for discussion anymore. I have just definitively proven to you that I am not the person you think that I am, and there can be no more discussion about it. There's closure in that, and in seeing that
this truth is stronger than your lie. The little segment where Steven is fusing back together with himself, and that White diamond turnaround was specifically animated by James Baxter. Rebecca got him to animate that sequence, and wow, you can just tell it's James Baxter. If you don't know who he is, he's an amazing character animator. He's worked on Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Prince of Egypt, Kung Fu Panda. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And he's phenomenal. And I'll go on YouTube and watch his pencil test for that sequence. It's like, a minute or less, and watch it on repeat because it's just so pretty. I can't.
You should definitely put that on your Patreon page.
Oh, I will, for sure.
Yeah, and the ending song, I sing Change Your Mind a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
It's so good. It's like, I don't need you. I don't need you to love me. I love me. That's so good.
I don't need you to respect me. I respect me. But if you can know me if you change your mind. I
want
you to know you can know me.
Like, yes. What? It's the most perfect punctuation mark at the end of this sentence. This whole.
Yeah. Because even like this is Steven saying, look, if you still think that I'm pink, I don't need you to know that I'm Steven. I am Steven. I don't need you to like think that I'm great. I know that I'm great, but like I'm here if you want to come back. I'm here if you want to come and get to know me.
And we all have to love ourselves first, and it doesn't matter if other people don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's something to be said with like, you cannot love what somebody else does. It's possible to not like what somebody does. Like with how Steven left without Connie, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He sacrificed himself without Connie. But the love of a person is so much different. And it's being able to love who that person is at the core, you know?
Yeah, it's that unconditional love, and it's
Agape.
yeah, agape, loving who you are, not necessarily what you do, because yeah, you can do things wrong. We all can and will, but
Yep.
yeah,
But it's that.
this whole show is just discovering who you are and loving and accepting that. And wow, it just I still can't handle how much I love this show.
I just watched the last episode before we recorded, and I just still have the warm fuzzies from that ending where all of the gems slide next to Steven the same way that they are in the same positions that they do at the beginning of each episode in the title animation. What do you think is up with White Diamond? She grew pink.
Yes. So this leads me into an excellent question of what you think is going to happen in the movie. And I don't really know. And I haven't really been following up on any sort of like leaks or details we've been getting because I don't want to know. I just want to watch it and see what happens. But they definitely left a lot of things unanswered with White Diamond and the diamonds in general, because White, when she is taunting Steven, or who she thinks is Pink at that time, and saying like, you know, you're the part of me that I always need to repress. Mm-hmm. That's what she says. So you're the part of me. And so the White Diamond, Blue Diamond, Yellow, Pink, I mean, are they all part of White? Like White was the first. Like, how did she even create them? You know? Mm-hmm. I hope, because they've like planted those little snippets into this last part of the season, I'm hoping some of those questions get answered. Like that, I mean, that's a huge question, is where did they even come from?
I wonder if all gems could naturally occur. Or if the diamonds actually do create them. Because if they actually created them, that does make a legitimate caste system a little bit, because they become the creators, right. Almost like gods of gems. And I wonder if they haven't just found the ingredients of how to make a gem and then specifically sped up the process. In the same way that a farmer would find carrot seeds and then plant them. He's not the god of the carrots. He found carrot seeds. He found the way to make a carrot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like are they the carrot farmers, or are they the creator? Like, are they gods?
Right. Well, to be fair though, Pink literally took pebbles and gave them life. Literally took pumpkins and gave them life. But Pink seems to be the only one who can do that.
Well, that's from what we've seen. I guess I would always just inferred that the other diamonds could do it too. But maybe you're right. Maybe it was just Pink.
Or maybe Pink was just better at it, or more natural with it. And that's maybe why Pink.
I mean, they definitely all have their own strengths and weaknesses. Like, you know, Yellow is more of the mental strategy, and Blue is more of the emotional, you know, those kinds of things.
I would say that the diamonds are more powerful than the rest of the gems. Yes. But I think it would make me feel a little uncomfortable if they were also the specific I create you from nothing creators of gems. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, granted, they don't, create something out of nothing. They do give life to objects, though. To pebbles or combs or pumpkins.
I don't know.
Do you have any other theories for what the movie could hold?
I really think that we're going to find out more about White. I'm hoping that Lars and Sadie go on an adventure together. Yes. Or are part of the adventure together.
Agreed.
And they learn either that they are now compatible to have a relationship, or that they have grown equally and separately, and that they will remain friends and compatriots. And I would feel very comfortable with that option as well. I'm hoping that they will fast forward time, honestly, so that we can see Connie and Steven's growth and development. I hope we get to see Steven in his actual adult, either young adult or adult form.
Yes, I would agree. That's one of my biggest things is I really want him to, physically grow up too a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And because it would give us a chance to kind of see how the Homeworld Society and Earth have changed and settled now that Era 3 has begun.
I wonder if they're going to continue Steven Universe after this.
I don't know.
It seems a little doubtful, unfortunately. But I wonder if that's something up.
I think it's possible. But probably not in the way we would expect.
Mm-hmm. No, agreed. I want to know what happens with Peridot and Lapis. And I want to know where they land. Because they've had this platonic relationship that feels very marital, but isn't. And I wonder if that is just how it's going to continue forward, or if there's actually a romance there or not. I'm comfortable if there's not, because I think relationships come in all shapes and sizes.
Absolutely.
But I want to know. I also want to know what they look like fused.
I know. Well, Rebecca has said that she basically has fusion ideas for literally everyone. Because, if you're the creator of the show, of course, that's, even the rest of us, come up with ideas of what all the fusions would look like. So yeah, I guess we'll have to. Speaking of fusions, really quick, wow, we didn't even talk about all of the fusions in Chain.
Oh my God.
Rainbow 2.0 is my favorite thing.
Mary Poppins!
Yes, because Rainbow 2.0 is it's such, you can just see the Pearl and the Steven coming through at some point. It's like, yes, all about it.
Yes, and Steven and Garnet's fusion.
Sunstone or Suns.
Yeah. Something. So, oh my gosh. It's such the 80s. To the point of like, hey kids, remember, don't do drugs, sort of like feel, and the like just the music and the look, and it was so great. You practically could see them, holding on to a Capri Sun packet with a fruit roll up in the other hand. I guess that's 90s, but like still, it's just like 80s, 90s-ish. It was so good.
So good.
And of course, Obsidian.
Another good, like, we've had this thing sitting in the background the entire time, and let's finally present Obsidian, the temple statue that is Obsidian.
I want to see what it used to look like, because it certainly doesn't look like that anymore.
With Rose?
Yeah, what it would look like with Rose, and why it turned lava. Why would Steven turn it to lava is my question. If it wasn't already lava,
I don't know. You think it wasn't already lava?
I feel like the temple looked so much more pristine. Much more like a gem, or like our idea of something more like it looks like a priestess sort of thing. And we know, because of Rainbow 2.0, that these fusions with Rose and with Steven are completely different.
Yes.
So I want to know what it used to look like, what it looks like now, and why.
Maybe those questions will be answered in the film. Who knows?
Fingers crossed.
I'm just really looking forward to seeing all the characters again. I'm hoping they fast forward time a bit. And other than that, I'm kind of going in with no expectations. Except the The other thing I do want, obviously, is, just to tick off my list here of all the things. But I really want some really amazing music. I'm expecting that because they have yet to disappoint me. So I'm ready for it. All right. Well, we will look forward to seeing that and discussing that later this year. Woo.
Thanks for having me on, Kelly.
Thank you so much for recording with me, Brynn. This is always such a joy. So we will definitely have to talk with you soon.
Yay!
Yay.
Bye, guys.
Right. Bye. Thank you so much for joining in. Brynn and I had a blast talking about Steven Universe, and we can't wait to talk about the film later this year. Be sure to check out our Patreon page so you can vote for what we talk about next. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Fanimated Podcast. You can also email us at fanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. The art for this podcast is done by me, Kelly Anderson. You can find me on Instagram at CandorDraw. The music is provided by the folks at Purple Planet, and a huge thank you to Brynn Berryhill for joining me today. As always, stay tuned and stay animated.
Yes.
And we don't have to talk about all the episodes, just whichever ones you have things to say about.
I mean, all of them.